The Great Hall of Station Prime was the most beautiful place in the entire galaxy. Giant crystal pillars rose from the floor and touched the ceiling far above. Light from a nearby star passed through these pillars and painted the walls in colors that had no names in any human language. For 10,000 years, the 12 elder species of the Galactic Council had met in this hall to discuss matters of peace and war. Today, they discussed survival. Ambassador Voreth of the Diluvian Empire stood at the center of the chamber. He was tall, nearly 3 meters, with blue skin and 4 arms that moved when he spoke. His voice was heavy with fear. "The Kreeth swarm has awakened," he announced. "Our border stations have gone silent. Colony worlds are burning. They are coming." A wave of panic moved through the assembled representatives. The Kreeth were ancient monsters from the dark spaces between stars. They slept for 1,000 years, then woke hungry. When they woke, they consumed everything in their path: planets, moons, entire civilizations. Nothing could stop them. Admiral Una Park stood among the crowd and listened carefully. She was small compared to the aliens around her. Most council species were giants. The Diluvians were 3 meters tall. The Voreks had 8 legs and bodies like tanks. The Maltari floated on clouds of gas and looked down at everyone. Una was just a human woman, barely 160 centimeters, with black hair tied back and a simple gray uniform. Earth had joined the Galactic Council only 50 years ago. Humans were the youngest species in the room. Many of the elder races still thought of them as children playing in the stars. "We must assemble the combined fleet immediately," said High Counselor Maltrix. He was a Maltari, ancient and powerful, his gaseous body glowing with authority. "Every species must contribute warships for the defense." Una raised her hand. The gesture was so small that most aliens did not notice. She raised it higher. "The Council recognizes the human ambassador," Maltrix said with barely hidden impatience. "High Counselor," Una said, her voice clear and strong despite her size. "Earth wishes to join the defensive fleet. We offer our ships and our soldiers for this fight." For a moment, there was silence. Then laughter filled the crystal hall. The Voreks representative made a sound like grinding rocks. "Humans? In a war against the Kreeth?" More laughter followed. Ambassador Voreth looked at Una with something like pity in his 4 eyes. "Ambassador Park, we appreciate your courage. But your species has been traveling between stars for only 200 years. You have no warships, no experience in galactic combat. The Kreeth have destroyed civilizations older than your entire planet. Your people are fragile," added a Diluvian general. "You break so easily. Your bones snap. Your skin tears. A Kreeth warrior would kill 10 of you before you could raise a weapon." Una did not look away. She did not show anger or shame. She simply nodded slowly and said, "I understand your concerns. But humanity wishes to fight." Maltrix sighed, his gaseous body shifting colors. "Very well. If Earth wishes to send observers or support vessels, we will find a place for them behind the main fleet. But the real fighting will be done by those who know how to fight." The Council moved on to other matters. Una returned to her position at the edge of the room. A young Diluvian aide leaned close to her and whispered, "Do not feel bad, human. No one expects anything from your kind. You can hide safely while the real warriors protect the galaxy." Una smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Thank you for your concern." That night, she returned to her quarters and activated a secure communication channel to Earth. The face of General Tae Kim appeared on the screen. He was an older man with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. He had fought in 3 wars on Earth before humanity ever reached the stars. "I watched the council session," he said. "They laughed at you." "They did," Una confirmed. "Good. Let them laugh." Tae Kim leaned forward. "It is time? It is time." The general nodded once. Then he spoke 3 words that would change the history of the galaxy. "Activate Protocol Omega. On Earth, in bunkers hidden beneath mountains and oceans." Lights began to turn on. Machines that had slept for 20 years started to wake. Factories that officially did not exist began to produce weapons that officially were impossible. Humanity had a secret. When humans first discovered that they were not alone in the universe, they celebrated. They made friends with the elder species. They traded technology and art and culture. They smiled and acted peaceful, but human leaders remembered their history. They remembered what happened when a weaker civilization met a stronger one. They remembered colonization and conquest, and extinction. They looked at the giant aliens who ruled the galaxy and made a decision. They would never be weak again. For 200 years, humanity had pretended to be harmless. They built small trading ships. They established quiet colonies. They acted like children happy to sit at the adult table. But in secret, they prepared for war. The greatest military minds of Earth had studied every conflict in galactic history. They had analyzed the weapons and tactics of every council species. They had found weaknesses that the elder races had forgotten they had. Then they built weapons to exploit those weaknesses. General Tae Kim stood in the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains and watched screens light up across the world. Shipyards in orbit around Mars began to move. Hidden bases on the far side of the moon activated their power cores. Asteroid mining stations that were actually weapons platforms started warming their engines. A young officer approached him. "Sir, the fleet will be ready in 72 hours. Make it 48, the general replied. The galaxy laughed at us today. Soon, they will learn what happens when you laugh at humanity. He looked up at the screens, showing ships moving through the darkness of space. 200 warships. Not elegant like council vessels. Not beautiful like Diluvian cruisers. These ships were ugly, brutal, and covered in weapons. They were human, and humanity was going to war. Far away on Station Prime, Una Park stood at a window and looked out at the stars. A Maltari diplomat floated past her and made a sympathetic sound. "Do not worry, little human," he said. "The Council will protect your people. You are too young to understand war." Una watched him float away. Then she whispered to herself, "No, you are too old to remember it." She touched the glass and smiled at her own reflection. But we never forgot. The rain fell hard on the training grounds of New Sol. This was a colony world, far from Earth, where humanity had built a second home among the stars. The cities were tall and bright, full of families and children and normal life. But outside the cities, hidden in valleys and forests, there were places that did not appear on any map. Captain Mina Han stood in the mud and watched her soldiers fight. They were not practicing with training weapons today. They were using real guns, real explosives, real pain. A young soldier fell and did not get up immediately. Medical teams rushed to help him. Mina did not look away. "Get him treated and back in line in 1 hour," she ordered. Her second in command, a tall woman named Jisoo Kang, walked up beside her. "Captain, the council observers will arrive tomorrow. Should we prepare a demonstration?" "No demonstrations," Mina said. "Let them see us as we are. Let them see what we really do." The 7th Rapid Response Division was special. Every soldier here was a volunteer. They came from every nation on Earth, every culture, every background. They had one thing in common. They had trained for 20 years to fight an enemy that most humans did not know existed. They were humanity's sword in the darkness. At the same time, far above the colony world, Lieutenant Commander Jin Lee stood on the bridge of a ship that should not exist. The vessel was called the Iron Wake, and it was the first of Earth's hidden fleet. For 2 decades, humanity had built warships in secret facilities inside asteroid fields where no one would look. The Council believed humans had only small trading vessels. The Council was wrong. "All ships report ready," an officer announced. 200 warships standing by. Jin Lee nodded. He was young for his rank, only 35, but he had earned his position through brilliance. Every military academy on Earth knew his name. He had won war games that were considered unwinnable. He had written tactical theories that changed how humanity thought about space combat. Now he would test those theories for real. "Begin launch sequence," he ordered. "Slow and quiet. We do not want to scare our guests." The asteroid field began to move. What had looked like dead rocks suddenly showed lights and engines. Ships emerged from hollowed-out asteroids, their dark hulls barely visible against the blackness of space. They were not beautiful ships. They had no elegant curves or glowing energy fields. They were angular, aggressive, and covered in weapons that the galaxy had never seen. Railguns that could throw metal at incredible speeds. Missile tubes loaded with nuclear warheads. Kinetic impactors, which were basically giant rocks designed to smash into enemy ships. And something new, something human engineers had invented just for this war. Gravitic bombs that could crush a ship from the inside. The Council observers arrived the next day. Watcher Quarren led the delegation. He was a Vorix, with 8 legs and compound eyes that could see in every direction at once. He had observed dozens of species over his long career. He expected humans to be no different from the others, primitive, eager, and ultimately useless. He was wrong. The shuttle landed on a military base that had appeared overnight. Quarren stepped out and stopped moving. His 8 legs became very still. His compound eyes tried to process what they were seeing. Warships filled the sky, not small transport vessels, not trading ships with simple weapons added. Real warships. Hundreds of them. They moved in perfect formation, their weapons pointed outward, ready for battle. "This is impossible," Quarren said. "Our intelligence said humans had no military fleet." Dr. Sung Cho stepped forward to greet him. She was a small woman with glasses and gray hair. She looked like someone's grandmother. She was actually the most dangerous weapons scientist in human history. "Our intelligence," she said with a slight smile, "is very good at keeping secrets." Quarren demanded a tour of the ships. Dr. Cho agreed happily. She walked him through the iron wake and explained each weapon system with the enthusiasm of a teacher showing off her best students. "This is a railgun," she said, patting the massive barrel. "It uses electromagnetic force to fire metal projectiles at 30 kilometers per second. No shields in the galaxy can stop it." Quarren's legs twitched nervously. "Council warships use energy shields rated for—" "We know exactly what your shields are rated for," Dr. Cho interrupted. "We tested these weapons against captured shield technology years ago. Your shields last about 3 seconds. They moved to the missile bays. Rows of weapons waited in their tubes like sleeping predators. Nuclear warheads," Dr. Cho explained. "We have been building these for 300 years. We got very good at it." Quarren stared at the missiles. You use nuclear weapons? Against ships? Against ships. Against planets. Against anything that threatens us." "Doctor," Cho looked up at him with eyes that had no fear. "High Counselor Maltrix asked why humans wanted to fight the Kreth. The answer is simple. We have been preparing to fight everyone." Quarren took a step backward. "These weapons, they are designed to destroy civilizations." "Yes, you built weapons of extinction." Dr. Cho removed her glasses and cleaned them slowly. "Watcher Quarren, do you know how many humans have died in wars against other humans?" He did not answer. "Over 1 billion, she said. "We have been killing each other since we learned to pick up rocks. Every weapon on these ships exists because we once pointed it at ourselves. The Kreth are terrifying. Yes, but they are not more terrifying than us." She put her glasses back on and smiled warmly. "Would you like to see the kinetic impactors? They are basically asteroids with engines. Very simple. Very effective." That night, Quarren sent an urgent message to the Galactic Council. His hands shook as he recorded it. "High Counselor, I have made a terrible mistake in my assessment of humanity. They are not children. They are not primitives. They are predators who have been hiding their teeth. Their weapons are designed for total war. Their soldiers train to fight enemies 10 times their size. Their scientists build machines of mass destruction and smile while explaining them." He paused, his compound eyes reflecting the lights of human warships in orbit. "I recommend we accept their help against the Kreth. But I also recommend we never, ever make them our enemies. I have seen what they are capable of. I have seen the darkness in their eyes when they speak of war." He ended the message with words that would echo through the halls of Station Prime. "The humans are not going to battle. The humans have been waiting for one. On the training grounds below, Captain Minahan gathered her soldiers. The rain had stopped. Stars were visible through the clouds. The council observers have seen us, she announced. They know what we are now. Tomorrow, we ship out to meet the Kreth swarm. Some of us will not come back. She looked at each face, young and old, men and women, all of them ready to die for humanity. But those who fall will fall fighting, and those who survive will show the galaxy something it has forgotten. She raised her fist. Humans do not lose. 2,000 voices answered as one. Humans do not lose. The sound echoed across the valley, up through the clouds, and into the darkness of space where enemy ships were already gathering. War was coming, and humanity was ready. The Diluvian border colony of Nexus 7 was a peaceful world. 3 million people lived there in cities that floated above purple oceans. Children played in parks. Artists painted pictures of the twin suns. Life was good. Then the sky turned black. The Kreth swarm arrived without warning. 1,000 ships blocked out the stars. They were not beautiful ships like council vessels. They were organic, grown rather than built, with hulls that looked like insect shells and weapons that glowed with sick green light. The council fleet was waiting for them. 200 elegant warships formed a defensive line between the Kreth and the planet. Their energy shields glowed blue and bright. Their commanders were confident. They had fought pirates and rebels for centuries. They believed they could win. They were wrong. The first Kreth attack wave hit the council line like a hammer. Green energy beams cut through shields that were supposed to be unbreakable. Ships that had protected the galaxy for 1,000 years exploded in seconds. Diluvian cruisers, Vorax battleships, Maltari carriers, all of them died screaming. Admiral Corinth of the Diluvian Navy watched his fleet fall apart. He had served for 200 years. He had never seen anything like this. All ships retreat, he ordered. Fall back to secondary positions. But there were no secondary positions. The Kreth were everywhere. They swarmed around council ships like insects around dying animals. They did not fight with honor or tactics. They simply overwhelmed everything with numbers. In 3 hours, half the council fleet was destroyed. The survivors ran for their lives. On the planet below, civilians screamed as Kreth landing ships descended from the sky. Then Admiral Unipark arrived. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly between the Kreth and the planet. 200 warships, ugly and brutal, formed a wall of metal and weapons. Admiral Corinth opened a communication channel. His blue face was covered in burns and blood. Human Admiral, you must retreat. This battle is lost. Save your ships. Yuna did not blink. Negative, Admiral. We did not come here to retreat. You do not understand. The Kreth destroyed my fleet in hours. Your small ships cannot. Watch us. Yuna turned to her weapons officer. A young man named Deho sat at the console, his fingers ready on the firing controls. He had waited his entire life for this moment. Launch everything, Yuna ordered. Deho smiled and pressed the button. The galaxy had never seen anything like what happened next. Every human ship fired at once. Railguns screamed. Missiles flew. Nuclear warheads detonated against Kreth hulls. Kinetic impactors, asteroids with engines, smashed through enemy formations like thrown rocks through glass. The Kreth shields, designed to stop energy weapons, could not stop metal moving at incredible speeds. Railgun rounds punched through organic hulls like needles through paper. Nuclear explosions burned away entire wings of the swarm. In 10 minutes, humans destroyed more Kreth ships than the Council had in 3 hours. But Yuna was not finished. Sergeant Hansu, she said into the communication system, you are cleared for boarding operations. Deep in the human fleet, a transport ship full of soldiers powered up its engines. Sergeant Hansu stood at the front of the cargo bay, surrounded by 200 of the most dangerous humans ever born. They wore heavy armor and carried weapons that looked ancient by galactic standards. Rifles, shotguns, grenades, knives. Listen up, Hansu shouted. We are going to board a Kreth hive ship. No species has ever done this before. They say it is impossible. They say humans are too weak. Too fragile. Too soft. He loaded his rifle with a loud click. Let us show them what soft looks like. The transport ship flew directly toward the largest Kreth vessel. Enemy fire hit them from every direction. The pilot, a woman named Hana Jung, dodged and weaved through explosions with impossible skill. 30 seconds to impact, she announced. Han Su grabbed a handle and braced himself. All teams, prepare for breach. The transport hit the Kreth hive ship at full speed, drilling through the organic hull and embedding itself deep inside. Doors blew open. Soldiers poured out into darkness. The inside of a Kreth ship was a nightmare. Walls made of living tissue. Air that smelled like death. Corridors that moved and changed like the insides of a giant monster. And everywhere, Kreth warriors. They were tall, thin creatures with 4 arms and heads like insects. They moved fast and attacked without fear. Their claws could cut through metal. Their teeth could bite through bone. But humans had spent their entire history fighting things that wanted to kill them. Han Su fired his rifle 3 times. 3 Kreth fell. A warrior lunged at him from the shadows. He blocked its claws with his armor, grabbed its throat, and threw it into a wall. Another soldier finished it with a knife. Move forward, Han Su ordered. Find the brain. Kreth hive ships were controlled by a central intelligence, a giant brain that directed the swarm. Destroy the brain, and the ship would die. The humans fought corridor by corridor, room by room. They used grenades and explosives, and bare hands. When their guns ran empty, they picked up enemy weapons. When those broke, they used rocks and pieces of metal. A young soldier named Minji took a hit to her arm. The Kreth claw went deep. She screamed once, then pulled out the claw and kept fighting. You okay? Han Su asked. I will be okay after we win, she replied. They found the brain chamber an hour later. It was a vast space filled with organic cables and glowing fluids. In the center sat the brain, a massive, pulsing thing that screamed in frequencies that hurt human ears. Han Su planted explosives around the room. The brain screamed louder, calling for help. Kreth warriors poured in from every entrance. Hold them, Han Su shouted. The soldiers formed a circle and fired at everything that moved. Bodies piled up. Ammunition ran low. But they held. 30 seconds, Han Su announced. Everyone fall back to the transport. They retreated fighting, leaving explosives behind. The transport pulled out of the hive ship just as the charges detonated. The brain died. The hive ship died with it. 10,000 Kreth warriors stopped moving at once. Their connection to the swarm severed. On the planet below, Captain Mina Han led ground forces through burning cities. Her soldiers did not just defend. They attacked. They set traps in buildings. They ambushed Kreth patrols. They used fire and sound and confusion to break enemy formations. The Kreth had never faced prey that fought back like this. They had never met creatures who smiled while killing. They had never heard the songs that human soldiers sang as they charged into impossible odds. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Kreth swarm retreated. Admiral Corinth watched from his damaged ship as human vessels chased the Kreth into the darkness of space. He could not believe what he was seeing. They are winning, he whispered. How are they winning? Beside him, a human liaison officer named Hyojin shrugged. We are human. This is what we do. Back on her flagship, Admiral Yuna Park received damage reports. They had lost ships. They had lost soldiers. The cost was high, but they had won. She opened a channel to the surviving Council fleet. This is Admiral Park. Nexus 7 is secure. The Kreth are retreating. We will pursue and destroy. There was a long silence. Then Admiral Corinth's voice came through, broken and humble. Admiral Park, how? Your ships are smaller. Your species is younger. How did you do this? Yuna looked out at the stars where Kreth ships were burning. Because we never forgot what it means to fight for survival. You built civilizations to avoid war. We built ours to survive it. She ended the communication and turned to her crew. All ships, pursue the enemy. Show no mercy. The human fleet moved forward, hungry and unstoppable. chasing monsters through the darkness of space. The galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. News traveled fast across the galaxy. Every species with access to communication networks heard about the Battle of Nexus 7. They heard how the mighty Council fleet had fallen in hours. They heard how the small human ships had arrived and turned the tide. They heard about soldiers who boarded enemy vessels and fought with knives and bare hands. The reaction was mixed. Some species celebrated. They sent messages of congratulations to Earth. They asked to visit human worlds and learn about these strange, wonderful creatures who had saved Nexus 7. Others reacted with fear. They looked at their own militaries, their own weapons, their own defensive plans, and realized something terrible. If humans could destroy the Kreth so easily, what could they do to everyone else? In the crystal halls of Station Prime, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. High Counselor Maltrix floated at the center of the chamber, his gaseous body shifting through dark colors that indicated deep worry. "We must discuss the human situation," he announced. Ambassador Vorath of the Diluvian Empire stepped forward. He had lost 3 nephews in the battle. He had also watched human ships save thousands of Diluvian civilians. "The humans saved my people," he said. "We owe them a debt of honor." "They also showed us weapons capable of destroying worlds," countered a Vorax representative. "Weapons they built in secret. Weapons they hid from us for 2 centuries. The debate went back and forth. Some demanded that humanity be thanked and rewarded. Others demanded that human weapons be confiscated and destroyed. A few even suggested that humanity be expelled from the Council entirely before they became a threat. Then Commander Jin Lee walked into the chamber. He had not been invited. Guards tried to stop him at the door. He walked past them without slowing down. His uniform was still dirty from battle. His face was tired, but his eyes were sharp and cold. "High Counselor," he said, his voice carrying across the great hall. "I understand you are discussing my people." Maltrix's body flashed with angry colors. "You were not summoned here, Commander. This is a closed session. The session is about humanity. Humanity should be represented." Jin Lee looked around the room at the alien faces watching him. "I hear some of you are afraid of us now." "Good. You should be." Gasps echoed through the chamber. Even Yuna Park, watching from her position near the wall, tensed at his words. Jin Lee continued. "For 200 years, you treated us like children. You laughed when we asked to join your wars. You gave us small rooms in the back of your stations. You looked down at us because we were short and weak and new." He walked to the center of the chamber, standing directly before the High Counselor. "Now, you have seen what we can do. Now you understand that we were never weak. We were waiting, learning, building." He paused. "So let me answer the question you are all too afraid to ask. Why did we hide our strength?" No one spoke. The hall was completely silent. "Because we have learned from history," Jin Lee said. "When a weaker civilization reveals itself to a stronger one, the stronger one destroys it. Every time, without exception. Your own histories prove this. So we hid, we smiled, we acted harmless. And we prepared for the day when someone would try to destroy us." He looked at the Vorax representative who had suggested confiscating human weapons. "You want to take our weapons? Try. See what happens." Admiral Yuna stepped forward quickly. "What Commander Lee means is that humanity values its security very highly. We built these weapons not to threaten the Council, but to protect ourselves and our allies." Maltrix floated closer to Jin Lee. "And what do you want, Commander? What does humanity want from this Council?" Jin Lee met his gaze without fear. "We want a seat at the table. A real seat. Not a small chair in the corner. We want to be treated as equals, and we want the galaxy to understand something very important." He raised his voice so everyone could hear. "We are not your enemies. The Kreth are your enemies. There are things worse than the Kreth out there in the darkness. You need us. Not because we are kind or peaceful or good. You need us because we are the only species in this galaxy that knows how to fight a real war." Before anyone could respond, an alarm sounded through the station. Emergency lights flashed red, A council officer rushed into the chamber, her face pale with terror. "High Counselor, the Kreeth are regrouping. Our scouts report a massive fleet gathering at the edge of the Dark Zone. Over 10,000 ships. They are coming here. They are coming to Station Prime." Panic exploded through the chamber. Council members shouted and pushed and demanded immediate evacuation. The Great Crystal Hall, which had stood for 10,000 years as a symbol of galactic civilization, suddenly felt very fragile. Admiral Yuna remained calm. She activated her communication device. "All human vessels, prepare for extended deployment. Contact Earth Command. Tell General Kim we need everything." Meanwhile, in a different part of the station, a young pilot named Eun-ji was preparing for a very dangerous mission. She was the best pilot in the human fleet. She had flown combat missions on 3 different worlds. She had shot down more enemy fighters than anyone in her squadron. Now she was volunteering to fly alone into Kreeth territory to gather intelligence. Her commander had called it a suicide mission. She had smiled and said, "Only if I die." Her ship was small, fast, and nearly invisible to enemy sensors. She launched from a hidden hangar and pointed her nose toward the darkness of space. The journey took 3 days. She flew through asteroid fields and past dead worlds that the Kreeth had consumed. She saw things that would give her nightmares for years. Planets stripped down to their cores. Moons cracked open like eggs. Space stations floating empty and dark. On the 4th day, she found the Kreeth gathering point. It was worse than anyone had imagined. Not 10,000 ships. 20,000. Maybe more. A swarm so large that it blocked out entire star systems. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was what was behind the swarm. Eun-ji adjusted her sensors, trying to understand what she was seeing. The Kreeth fleet was not gathering to attack. They were running. They were fleeing from something in the deeper darkness. She pushed her ship closer, risking detection. Desperate to see what could possibly scare the Kreeth swarm. She saw it, and she screamed. The transmission she sent back to Station Prime was broken and full of static. Her hands shook so badly that she could barely operate the controls. "Admiral Park. The Kreeth. They are not attacking us because they want to. They are attacking us because they have nowhere else to go. Something is chasing them. Something is coming." She sent sensor data along with her message. Data that showed something massive moving in the darkness between galaxies. Something that made the entire Kreeth swarm look small. There is something worse than the Kreeth out there, and it is coming this way. Back on Station Prime, Admiral Yuna Park looked at the data and felt something she had not felt in years. Fear. Real fear. She turned to Commander Jin Lee. "You said there were things worse than the Kreeth in the darkness. I did not expect to be proven right so soon." Yuna stared at the images on her screen. The shape in the darkness. The thing that was driving the Kreeth toward galactic civilization, like animals fleeing a forest fire. "Contact Earth," she ordered. "Tell them to send everything. Every ship. Every soldier. Every weapon we have." She looked up at the stars through the station window, because this war just got much bigger. In the crystal halls behind her, the Galactic Council was still arguing about whether to trust humanity. They did not know yet that the argument no longer mattered. Something was coming, and humanity was the only species ready to face it. The day the Kreeth arrived at Station Prime, the sky turned dark with ships. 20,000 vessels blocked out the stars. They came from every direction, desperate and hungry, fleeing from something they feared more than death. But they were not the only ones waiting. The human fleet had grown. Not 200 ships, not 500. 2,000 warships hung in space between the Kreeth and Station Prime. Battleships and cruisers and destroyers. Carriers loaded with fighter craft. Support vessels filled with ammunition and supplies. Behind the warships came something unexpected. Civilian ships. Thousands of them. Mining vessels with explosive charges attached to their hulls. Transport ships with makeshift weapons bolted to their frames. Generation ships, designed to carry families across the stars, now loaded with nothing but determination. Every human who could fly a ship had come. Every human who could fire a weapon. Old men who had fought wars on Earth. Young women who had never held a gun before. Scientists and farmers and teachers and artists. They had all come to fight. General Tae Kim stood on the bridge of the command ship Earth's Fist. He looked out at his fleet, at the countless lights of human vessels, and felt pride swell in his chest. A communication officer turned to him. "General, all ships report ready. Estimated enemy force, 20,000 Kreeth vessels. Our forces, 2,000 military ships, 6,000 civilian vessels." The numbers were bad, very bad. But Tae Kim had seen worse odds in history books. He opened a broadcast channel to every ship in the fleet, every soldier on Station Prime, every human watching from colonies across the galaxy. "This is General Tae Kim of Earth. Today we face the greatest threat our species has ever known. The Kreeth swarm has come to destroy everything we love, everything we have built, everything we are." He paused, letting his words sink in. "They say we are young. They say we are weak. They say we cannot win." His voice grew stronger. "But we are human. We have faced extinction before. We have fought ice ages and plagues and wars that killed millions. We survived. We always survive." He raised his fist. "This is Earth. We are not here to die. We are here to win." The battle began. Kreeth ships poured toward Station Prime like a flood of darkness. The human fleet moved to meet them. Railguns screamed, missiles flew, nuclear explosions lit up the void. Admiral Una Park commanded from her flagship, directing ships like pieces on a vast chessboard. She was everywhere at once, shouting orders, adjusting formations, finding weaknesses in the enemy swarm. "Carrier Group 3, target the lead formation. Destroyer Wing 5, protect the civilian ships. All fighters, launch now." Thousands of fighter craft erupted from human carriers. Pilot Eun-ji led the first wave, her hands steady on the controls despite the fear in her heart. She had seen what was coming behind the Kreeth. She knew this battle was only the beginning. "All fighters, follow me," she shouted. "Time to hunt some bugs." Her squadron dove into the Kreeth formation, guns blazing. Enemy ships exploded around her. Green energy beams missed her by meters. She twisted and turned and fired, dancing through death like it was a game. On Station Prime, Captain Mina Han prepared for ground defense. The Kreeth would try to land troops. They always did. And when they did, she would be waiting. Her soldiers spread through the station, hiding in corridors and maintenance tunnels. They set traps and ambushes. They prepared explosives and barricades. "Remember your training," Mina told them. "They are faster than us, stronger than us. But we are smarter. We are meaner. And we never give up." The first Kreeth landing ships broke through the defensive line and crashed into the station. Alien warriors poured out, screaming in frequencies that hurt human ears. Mina smiled and pressed a button. The entire landing zone exploded. Fire and metal tore through Kreeth bodies. The survivors stumbled forward into a wall of human gunfire. "Welcome to Station Prime," Mina said, firing her rifle. "Please enjoy your stay." In space, the battle raged for hours. Human ships fell, Kreeth ships fell faster. The civilian vessels, those brave souls in their modified mining ships and transport freighters, threw themselves at enemy formations with suicidal courage. An old mining captain named Dong Ho flew his explosive-laden ship directly into a Kreeth command vessel. His last transmission was simple. "For my grandchildren." Dr. Sung Cho worked frantically in the engineering bay of Earth's Fist. She was building something. A weapon based on theories she had never tested. Calculations she had never confirmed. "This might not work," she muttered to herself. Commander Jin Lee appeared beside her. "Will it help? If it works, it will disrupt the Kreeth hive mind. They will lose coordination. They will become confused. And if it does not work, then it will probably explode and kill us all." Jin Lee shrugged. "I have heard worse odds. Do it." The weapon was finished an hour later. Dr. Cho activated it with shaking hands. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the Kreth fleet began to fall apart. Ships crashed into each other. Formations scattered. Warriors stopped fighting and stood frozen. Their connection to the swarm disrupted. "It worked," Sung Cho whispered. "It actually worked, but the battle was not over." A massive Kreth command ship, larger than any vessel in the human fleet, pushed through the chaos and headed directly for Station Prime. Its weapons charged with green fire. Admiral Yuna made a decision. "All ships, clear a path," she ordered. "I am going in." "Admiral, that is suicide," someone shouted. "I know." She pointed her flagship directly at the Kreth command ship and pushed the engines to maximum. The vessel shook as it accelerated. Crew members held on to anything they could find. "Admiral, what are you doing?" Jin Lee demanded over the communication channel. Yuna opened a broadcast to all frequencies, human and Kreth alike. She did not speak. Instead, she played a song. An old Earth song, from centuries ago. About hope and defiance and never giving up. The music filled the void of space. Human soldiers heard it and fought harder. Kreth warriors heard it and faltered, confused by the strange sounds. Why would a being charge toward death while making these noises? Why did the other humans seem to fight more fiercely when they heard it? What was this thing called music? The Kreth did not understand. They never would. Yuna's flagship slammed into the command ship at full speed. The collision was enormous. Both vessels erupted in fire and light. The explosion was visible from the surface of Station Prime. Sergeant Han Su saw it from his position in the station corridors. He had fought for 20 hours straight. He was bleeding from a dozen wounds. But when he saw that explosion, he shouted with rage and charged forward, leading his remaining soldiers into one final attack. "For the Admiral," he screamed. "For humanity." The Kreth line broke. Without their command ship, without their hive mind connection, the swarm became nothing more than confused animals. They fled in every direction, crashing into each other, desperate to escape. The human fleet pursued without mercy. By the time the battle ended, the Kreth swarm was broken. Station Prime stood. And in the wreckage of the command ship, search teams found something impossible. Admiral Yuna Park was alive. At the last second, she had ejected from her ship in an escape pod. The pod had been thrown clear of the explosion, tumbling through space until a rescue team found it floating among the debris. She woke up in a medical bay 3 days later. General Tae Kim was standing beside her bed. "You are either the bravest person I have ever met," he said, "or the craziest." "Why not both?" she replied. 1 year later, Yuna Park walked into the crystal halls of Station Prime. The great chamber was full of representatives from every species in the galaxy. They had come to witness something historic. High Counselor Maltrix floated at the center of the room. His gaseous body glowed with colors of respect and admiration. "Admiral Yuna Park," he announced. "On behalf of the Galactic Council, I present to you the seat of honor. Humanity has earned its place among the elder species. From this day forward, you will speak with a voice equal to any in this hall." A chair stood waiting for her. It was small compared to the seats of other species, built exactly to human size, but as Yuna sat down, she realized something. The shadow the chair cast was larger than any other in the room. She looked out at the assembled aliens, at the species who had once laughed at her people. "Humanity thanks the Council for this honor," she said. "We will use our voice wisely. We will protect the weak. We will fight the darkness." She stood and raised her hand. "But let me make one thing clear to everyone in this room. We know what is coming. We saw the thing that drives the Kreth. Something worse than anything this galaxy has ever faced is approaching. And when it arrives, humanity will stand at the front." She looked at each alien face, making sure they understood. "Not because we are the strongest. Not because we are the wisest. But because we are human. And humans never stop fighting." "Indicator," she sat down. The hall erupted in applause and cheering. Later that night, Yuna stood at a window and looked out at the stars. Behind her, a celebration filled the station with music and laughter. But she did not feel like celebrating. "You look worried," Jin Lee said. walking up beside her. I am thinking about what is coming. The thing behind the Krith. We will face it. We will win. How can you be sure? Jin Li smiled. Because I know my species. We have been fighting since we climbed down from trees. We fought ice and fire and each other. We nearly destroyed ourselves 100 times, but we always survived. We always found a way. He looked out at the stars with her. Whatever is out there, whatever is coming, it has never met anything like humanity. And when it does, it will learn the same lesson the Krith learned, which is, Jin Li put his hand on her shoulder. Never go to war with humans. We have been practicing on each other for 10,000 years. Yuna laughed despite herself. She turned back to the celebration, back to her people, back to the future that was waiting for them. The darkness was coming, but humanity would be ready. They always were.